Welcome back. I am so excited to share today's guest with you in this conversation. Our guest today is Dr. Laura DeBruin, who is a powerhouse in orthopedic physical therapy and sports performance. She owns her own private practice in Western Mass. And her background, when we think about the lanes of the guests that come onto this podcast and into this conversation, we have experts, we have sports parents, we have elite athletes, and we have coaches. And Laura checks all of those boxes. She was a Division I soccer player at URI, where she also played lacrosse. She has a doctorate from Temple University, and she became a fellow. She did her fellowship in the American Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapy. She has over 20 years of experience treating everyone from elite athletes to active seniors and to her friends' kids when they have problems. That's me. Blending clinical expertise with a personalized touch of love and joy and empowerment. She teaches, and she's also a soccer coach, in addition to raising her two incredible kids. So she's also my hockey wing woman. And this was the first year we were in different clubs, but I'm so grateful for her friendship and just who she is and the light that she brings. And as I said to her on the show, incredibly grateful that she has been a role model in my girls' lives. So without further ado, here is Dr. Laura DeBruin. All right. So welcome, Laura. I'm so excited to have you here. And we need no formalities because we are friends and we are connected and full permission to have a conversation that feels real and natural. So thank you for joining me and doing all the things to get ready for the podcast today.
Thank you, Samantha, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, yes. So I like to start by asking the kind of background questions of just painting a picture of your cultural upbringing. So like a little bit about your background and how what the role of sport in your life, essentially. Before we get into, before we hit play or record on this, we were going through all the boxes that Laura checks. So like sport parent, check. Yes, ×2. Expert, check, right? We'll talk about her PT background and all the things there. Coach, check. And also elite athlete, right?
Yes.
So before we get into those lanes, just kind of painting the picture of your upbringing and the role that sport played in your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
So growing up, I had a blended family. I grew up with 4 brothers, and it was complete and utter chaos at all times. My parents basically said, no TV, get outside and go play. And I mean, I won't say that my mom may or may not would lock the door and kick us outside until dinner time, but that may have happened on occasion.
Right.
So we were outside playing all day long, all the time. We all fell in love with soccer. We actually,
Mm.
as kids, like built our own soccer net with like wood posts and would play all day long. So how I ended up, I think, developing as an athlete was just basically because I grew up playing with boys and we weren't allowed to
Playing.
watch TV. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't realize all your brothers played too.
it was
Yeah.
more pickup. I had, let's see, I think they all played soccer at one point, and then some. I think 3 out of the 4 of them played in high school, but they were all multi-sport athletes. So we were always doing something. And in the house, we would be playing football, which would drive my parents crazy. At
Which
one
is what led to the outside.
at one point, I think for Christmas, they bought a big trampoline and put it in the middle of our living room, the cathedral ceiling. So we'd be jumping all day long just to contain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was chaos, but really fun chaos. So I
Yes.
think that's a huge part of how I developed as an athlete is just a girl playing with the
Mhm.
boys, and unfortunately today's day and age, like you don't get outside as much as probably
Mhm.
when I grew up. So.
Totally. And were you just soccer only? I actually don't know this
Oh
about you.
no, I played every sport, legit. So in high school, I played varsity basketball,
Okay.
freshman, sophomore, junior year. I was a skier. I played softball my freshman, varsity my sophomore year, lacrosse, varsity my junior and senior year. So I did legit every sport, play tennis. It was just one of those things where um, we were always like meant to be outside. And so
Mhm.
neighborhood pickups, we would just be like, hey, let's go down the tennis courts and go play tennis. Let's go do outdoor
Mm.
basketball. So competitively, through high school, I did play multiple sports, which I think is really
Mhm.
important as far as we can talk about that as developing as a high
Yeah,
level
totally.
athlete. I was a dancer too. I did gymnastics for about 5 years, and then
Okay.
yeah, it got crazy. My parents were running us around all over the place, so I actually don't mind carpooling. As we know, I always have snacks in my car.
She does.
Because
She's like,
somebody's gonna have
we
to
that's
pay.
gonna well, it's also gonna be this like just when I do the intro, like this disclaimer of
Yeah,
like like the locker room mom, the team mom, like all of it.
yeah.
Absolutely. And in the best way,
Oh,
right?
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was just wild and crazy. Like I said, I did a lot of sports, and I think that just made me a better overall athlete. I
Mhm.
think to playing multiple sports gave me a better vision when I specifically, chose soccer as my primary
Mhm.
sport. Just better like IQ and just like the movement, the games, just because I had that knowledge with other games. So I, it
Totally.
created a better depth of understanding of soccer specifically.
That's so real. Yeah. Did when did you know? Like when was soccer it for you?
I always loved soccer. I just always loved playing other things too. But oh gosh, I made I think a travel team when I was in 5th grade, and that was like my love. I was just so proud. And at that time, ago, obviously, like the landscape has certainly changed from
Mm.
30 years ago to now to what it is now. And so the club that I made, it was Berkshire United. There's only one club, like there was nothing around it, this
Mm.
club. And the coaches were, they weren't parent coaches. They just loved the game of
Mhm.
soccer. We played at this place called Berkshire Industries that had like carpet for grass. And I was so spoiled growing up on the pitch. So
Yeah.
the coaches were wonderful. Again, non-parent coaches. They were hard. I mean, I think we started off with a 2-mile run at age 12 and then began practicing for 2 hours.
My gosh.
Yeah, it was wild. They had high expectations. We played against boys all the time. That was our competing like
Mhm.
scrimmages. And then when we play against the girls, back in that era, we were really, really successful. And all the
Mm.
girls that played in this particular club ended up doing really well and playing, high level high school and then also college as well. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's
So
different.
so just kind of pulled toward it.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
so that was in 5th grade, and that was I was just so proud to make this team, and I had such ownership of this club, and, like, I stayed with them, all through until I graduated, until I aged out, and
Mm.
that's something in today's day and age that doesn't
Oh,
happen anymore, but it was, like, just the love of the club, but the camaraderie, the culture,
mhm.
the coaches' expectations, and so I was really blessed to have, been chosen for that club. And just I
That's
think that
amazing.
when I coach, that's kind of the culture that I hope to create, is that they have,
Mhm.
this experience. So when these girls look back at when they grew up, they're like, oh my gosh, this was a really great club. It was with all our friends and we were
Mhm.
successful. So that's where
Ah,
that stems from.
that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you.
And it's so I'm thinking like bringing it forward a bit. I'm like, that was my understanding of how hockey would work until you informed me that's not actually how
Nope,
hockey
nope,
works.
nope,
I was
nope.
like, I thought we just stay with one club
No,
year
no,
after year.
no,
Yeah.
no. Oh, that is
Oh my,
so different.
so different. So you what? You finish high school and you go off and play in college. You want to speak a little bit to that? Yeah, we can talk about that and then what came next.
Mhm.
So your passion for soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
and what like I'm curious too, what about the game did you love?
oh gosh. So, well, there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
Start um, with soccer. I love the game in its entirety. I literally played every single position. When I got to
Mm,
college, I was blessed to have a wonderful coach, Shelly Addison Smith. She's down in South
mm,
Carolina. Has had a really successful career for the last 30 years down there. Just wonderful. She created a really wonderful culture at URI.
mm.
And at one point in my 4-year career there, I did play every single position on the field, including backup
In college?
in college. Yeah. And so it comes back to the love of the game. And so I would
Mhm.
say, Coach, I don't care where you put me. I just want to be on the field. I'll play anywhere. Just
Mm,
let me know if you. And so I think being a versatile player and just really
mhm,
loving the game and not giving her a hard time about like, no, I only play here. I was like,
mhm.
I'll play on the left side. I love my left foot. I'll use that every day. I don't care. It was just
Right.
really nice to be able to be that player that could do that and be so versatile. Um,
Mhm,
and then obviously having a coach who was just like, okay, how do I keep you on the field? And I know this player is a little bit stronger here, but why don't I put you here? And I'm like, great, I'll do whatever you need me to do.
mhm.
So, and it's just because I loved the game. All I wanted to do was play.
Yeah.
So that was,
That's so
yeah,
cool.
that was a lot of
Yeah, and you paint the picture back then of when like what came next? Like, did you know there was a step after, or did you think, yes?
So interesting. I always said that, and again, I'm very blessed to have been able to do this. I always said I would continue to play soccer until it wasn't fun anymore. And so I knew in college that I wanted to go in Western Mass. They had at the time, I think it was the Sirens, and then it morphed into to what's called the New England Mutiny. It was a semi-pro soccer team. I knew that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do that after college. I also played lacrosse. So my senior year playing lacrosse, this is where I sustained an ACL tear and had to have surgery. And so at that time, and again, we'll talk about like the next chapter and injury and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was going to go play semi-pro, but tore my ACL playing lacrosse my senior year. So that was, really challenging time in my life at 22. I thought my life was over.
Totally.
Right. But
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, I was able to rehab for 2 years and then go back to New England Mutiny for 2 years. So that was fun.
That's and that is,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then
huge.
what happened is that, graduating from physical therapy school, I then chose to move on to the professional component of physical therapy and then
Mm-hmm.
just retire my competitive shoes, like, on my own terms, which
Mm-hmm.
also doesn't happen these days. I feel like there's all the extenuating factors that don't allow athletes to do that. So,
Mm-hmm.
in that, perspective, I was really blessed to be able to retire on my own terms.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, coming back from injury.
yeah,
You are someone that I lean on in supporting the mentees, right? So on the mental side, when they're,
yeah,
knowing that I've like Laura step in, like we're stuck here, right? With the
right.
return to play
Yeah,
or some component of it,
mhm,
physically being able to get back onto the field
right,
and your personal experience there. Like that's something when you shared that and in my own journey, right, with my shoulder surgery, like I came back to the sport and I did leave on my own terms. And
right.
there's something really healing about that it
100%.
didn't take you out.
Right,
Yeah.
right. When
Yeah.
I think again, I'll just use and talk from my experience. Like when I was 22, like I felt like I wasn't ready to retire, and how do I get back to that? And like, what other
Hmm.
opportunities are there? So a lot of times, athletes will injure themselves, and they don't have the opportunity to return, whether it's like
Hmm.
mid college, and again, obviously things are a little bit different now with like transfer portals and scholarships,
Totally.
and so unfortunately, I feel like the athletes that get injured, like those doors sometimes close, and that's detrimental to as far as their like sport career processing journey goes.
Hmm. I know. I'm hoping that big picture, like club sports, just have this like surge of like expanding opportunities
Mhm.
because of all the caps that are happening. And we'll talk about, I want to know, yeah, because with your NIL stuff, like all that from a business perspective.
Yeah.
So, and I am like picking up on you played lacrosse at URI as well.
Yeah. So it was
I
club.
didn't know
Oh
that.
yeah. I
Yeah,
was busy.
yeah,
Yeah. So it was club lacrosse, but we were really competitive. My freshman year, we were at
yeah,
nationals in Santa Barbara, so that was really cool. Sophomore year, I played. And that I wasn't able to play the full season. I had a lot of huge coursework, but I still had to go to soccer practice. So I would have to go to soccer as a priority and then lacrosse. So I would be on the
yeah,
field for about 6 hours, which was a lot. I ended
yeah.
up studying abroad in my junior spring in Australia. So that was a lot of
Nice.
fun. Yeah, that was fun. And then my senior year, I was done with soccer. So I went and played. I finished the lacrosse season until I got
With lacrosse.
injured. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was, I felt like lacrosse was, it was a great sport. I loved playing it. And then unfortunately, I
Hmm.
tore my ACL that last season. But moving on.
Well, that and like you bring up such an interesting point. I don't hear of that. Like an athlete that's competing who does their secondary sport club. Like, do you hear of that
I don't
occurring?
think. Well, I think it doesn't happen anymore. Well, at least at the Division 1 level, because
Yeah.
of the requirements as far as like the physical, like
Hmm.
emotional, mental, all the requirements
Hmm.
now of that particular sport. Coaches want their athletes like focused in on their primary sport. I
Hmm.
was just blessed, like I said, with Shelly. She allowed me
Hmm.
that. So I think again, it come down to coach's discretion, but I don't think it happens much anymore.
Hmm. I was listening to a podcast. I'm actually going to pull her name up because I want to give her credit with Rich Roll, and she's a cyclist,
Mhm.
and she was talking about how, let's see if I can find it in a reasonable amount of time here, um, how like being a student, she went to Stanford and she was riding and being a student and like her sole focus wasn't just on riding.
Mhm.
And so it helped, like she, was really successful. And then once school was done, she was just focused on riding and it was like the singular focus. And then that was, her riding suffered. And so
Mhm.
it became almost like this merge with her identity. And so now she's on this path. Kate Courtney.
Mhm.
mountain biker.
Mhm.
And so she's on this path now of like expanding in business and keeping her like having other
Mhm.
things be part of her world
Yeah.
besides just the singular sport. I'm listening to you going like, I really feel like that would be so beneficial
Yep.
for so many athletes that because the monotony too of the collegiate season and
Mhm.
the amount of hours, while the hours fluctuate whether you're in season or out of season, it's
Right.
still just like the singular focus
Mhm.
without and then even moving your body in different
Right.
ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you had this, you stepped into the professional space and then shifted gears away from sport, but
Mhm.
you're still so deeply connected. So in your own words, share, what the work you do in the world and how it ties back. Yeah. Would love for you to share.
So I'm a physical therapist, and I opened up
Hmm.
my own practice. I've been in business for about 8 years as a sole provider. I was really blessed in my early part of my career to have a wonderful mentor boss named David Bostick, who guided me kind of through going through a residency and fellowship in orthopedic
Hmm.
manual therapy. So I feel that with my own practice, I have a higher skill set that allows me to treat patients I feel more effectively.
Hmm.
So, as a physical therapist, I look at things, I assess every single day. And so, when I take that to my now coaching world,
Hmm.
I watch the girls. I see what they need to work on. I incorporate little drills that kind of addresses like little nuances between players. I'll use my daughter as an example, who's very tall. I do a lot of like glute media stabilization in order for to prevent ACL tears. So instead of isolating these players, I just kind of create drills that incorporates all of these things that's beneficial for everybody.
That's amazing. How lucky are they to have you? No,
Yeah.
that's so true. And being able to, so proactive, like preventative
Yep.
strengthening. Hear you say like strengthen the
Yeah.
butt.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yes, yeah. Helps with the knees.
I do.
I think
Sure does.
I think I was having knee pain and I'm like, oh
No,
my
I
goodness, what's happening
do.
with me? Like strengthen your
We
butt.
gotta find that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness. So, so in the work that you do,
Yep,
you see all like, but your population of patients is across the board,
yep,
not just athletes, but you see,
yep,
yeah,
heads to toes.
you work.
All
Yeah.
I specialize more so in orthopedics, but I'll treat concussions. I'll treat neuro patients. It just depends. As an outpatient facility, that
Yeah.
um, I just they have to be able to get into my practice. So,
Yes.
and I only treat one on one, which is I find really effective as far as like providing optimal care. And so I'm not sure if you've been to physical therapy, but I only treat
Mm-hmm.
one on one, and my appointments are an hour long. So, for example, if you have a shoulder issue, and it's a Medicare patient, elderly, I'll always look at balance just so the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you need to be able to reach overhead and stand on one foot to be able to provide certain functional tasks throughout the day. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm very blessed to again have that ability to treat patients the way I want to treat patients, and
Mm-hmm.
address all of their functional needs to make sure that they can stay out of the hospitals and the medical world.
Mm-hmm.
A little challenging now. Um, and so with that, it's nice because I can be able to build really like great relationships with my patients.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the productivity for a private practice owner, I have just all repeat patients and I don't advertise. So it's fun.
It's a well, I've got I do it for you.
Yeah.
I sent your
Oh,
website to people.
thank you.
No, and well, and could
Mhm.
someone work with you? You have the practice out of your office.
Yep.
Could someone work with you virtually? Like, could you consult?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can,
Yeah,
yep. Yep.
yeah.
And it's
So if
easy.
somebody's looking,
Yeah, I mean, I feel that I've been a PT now for over 20 years, and it's like I can watch somebody walk or just look at how they move, and I'm like, okay, here's where your
hmm
imbalances are. Do these little simple tasks, and I'm like, okay, let me
hmm
show you where your weaknesses are, and then here's
hmm
what you need to do to fix yourself, so you don't have to keep coming to see me. So
yes,
a lot of what I do is patient education because once patients understand the body that they live in or where their deficits are, they're more likely to do their home program. And if I give them
yes,
a million and one exercises or their stick figures, they're not going to be as compliant. Um,
especially when we talk about young people,
oh yeah, no, with young
right?
people, it's fun. I take their little fancy phones and I record it so that they can't say that the dog ate their homework. So and I was like, here, post it on your little reel thing so that you really don't forget your exercises.
I love that. Well, and that like let's segue into concussions
Yeah.
and that support because we so my own daughter was navigating a concussion. We leaned on you heavily there. And that was the information. There's a lot out there,
Right.
and there's a lot of it's so hard to try to cut through the chaos and find your way as a parent. And it's hard when your kid's suffering. It's scary. And so, yeah, speaking to whatever you want to breathe life into when it comes to what are we getting right around concussions? Where are we missing? What kind of information out there is not helpful when it comes to the protocol? I know every kid is different, right? But what are some things that maybe we could share with parents who are listening?
Well, obviously, the early assessment is going to be the priority. You want to make sure you want to identify if your child has a concussion sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, and I'll use athletic kids. They want to get back onto the field as soon as possible, and
Mm-hmm.
parents want their kids onto the field as soon as possible. But really making sure that the symptoms are completely gone. What I talk to parents about is that once symptoms are completely gone, you still practice for a week, making sure that they're symptom free,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a graded return to actual like full 100% sport. But I think that the education for the children and the athletes and the parents is just that they have to be truthful and honest, like with how they're feeling, even if they feel like groggy or just slightly tired, and they just might be
Mm-hmm.
attributing it to being like just tired for that day, but it's still like the lagging symptoms of the concussion.
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of the latest and greatest research is really high on nutrition and hydration and the proper sleep for concussion recovery. When I
When we were younger, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
was
like
like,
get
don't
back out
sleep.
there. Yeah, right. A lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I treat patients with concussions, so I'll take a high level, say hockey player that I had,
Mm-hmm.
and they were used to working out 5 6 days a week, sweating like. And this particular patient was an adolescent boy, and so he needed to sweat. If not, he's going to be very cranky and all the things.
I can relate to
So,
that.
with how I'm able to treat, like with my red cord system, I'm able to basically give them workouts without moving their head and more of an isometric like system. So then he gets his workouts, he can get his
Oh,
strength training, so he's not losing all this ground. And once the actual symptoms of like when he's moving return to running, and those symptoms have like subsided, then he's still
yeah.
nice and strong from the strengthening component. But I find that I'm able to have a better success rate being able
Mhm.
to do these isometric kind of movements to maintain these athletes' strength and get them sweating so they're not losing any ground, which is really
And
important.
mentally, that's where
Mentally,
yeah.
oh gosh, like
Oh my gosh.
again, everybody, if I have an athlete and they're used to working out so much and then you stop
Mhm.
that, it's really detrimental to their mental well-being as well.
100%. And I think that's where when we link forces professionally, it's that space of that is there's a provider that brings in this pillar of work. So, I'm a referral essentially for patients who's doing ACL repairs on.
Yep.
And that's the thing. It's it is injury is hard.
Mhm.
It's really,
Yep.
as someone, I went through it with my shoulder surgery with your knee. And it's something that absolutely throws you into the space of who am I without this? Right. All of these different questions. Plus it's painful. Plus it's inflammatory, right?
Mhm.
There's so many different layers to it. And so when it comes to a parent, even including concussions in this, when our kid is injured, and first of all, we don't want it's hard for us to watch our kid in pain, right? We want to make it better and fix it. But what are ways that you found to be supportive, and maybe even you show up in your own with your two kids,
Mhm.
for them, that based on your professional experience, your own lived experience, it's this is an aligned way to show up for them that's really helpful, and maybe these are the ways that's not
Yeah.
helpful as someone's working through injury.
Yeah. So I'll take concussions just out of this and just use a regular, like just regular injury.
Hmm.
My son ended up having elbow surgery at 12 years old. He had an osteochondral lesion that required surgery from shooting too many hockey pucks. It's funny. Don't even get me started. But anyway, so
We were walking together at that time.
yeah,
Yes.
it was so funny. Really
Not funny.
not funny. And here I have this really, really active boy that just wants to play. So what I did is, it was his right dominant arm. So that summer we did everything left-handed. We played tennis left-handed. We did running. We did
Mm-hmm.
soccer. We did all these things that was still able to allow him to, function and play, but just with the opposite. extremity. And so I think that when kids are injured, they can still do things. It's like, what things can you do? And you focus on what they can do and then what they can't do. And so with him specifically, he acclimated to play with all his little friends. He just did everything left-handed. So I think like once you understand that like unless they have a fracture, they're non-weight bearing. Okay, say they fractured their leg, they're non-weight bearing. Well, they can still throw and catch with their hand. So you just find things that they're able to do, and you focus on what they're able to do. So again, that still brings on the activity level. It helps mental health, and it gives them like a sense of like I can still do things. I'm not a complete invalid right now.
Totally.
So, and that I find with the recovery of these athletes is really beneficial.
It's so true that I don't know if I told you that Reese broke her foot. It's not surprising. It's the first broken bone in our family. I'm like, yep, check. That makes sense. Really.
And there's a good story behind this one.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Freeze or capture the flag was involved. In a cement patio. So she broke her. So she's like, I broke my 5th metatarsal, and I'm like, good girl for the language.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, so we've been doing that, but like that was it. That was exactly. I was like, okay, let's settle.
Yep.
Validate the experience and the emotions behind this, validate the frustration, and also pivot to what can we control? How do we want to respond? Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can still shoot. Yes. She can still shoot hockey pucks just on the other foot.
She's totally out there.
Imagine.
Showing me how she can lift him over the bucket. Like it's hysterical. Yeah. And then the girls are lifting in the garage. And she's lifting a barbell. How many? Like probably 10 pounds on each side. So, but she's like a peanut.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, Reese, that's weight you're adding to your body. And so Rob's like, just sit down and do it. Like, okay. So she's sitting down doing shoulder. Like
I love that.
Shoulder press.
Oh God, I love her.
Oh my gosh,
she's so cute.
Yes. So helping them in part of this like reason for the space is. Like, where can we talk about the stuff that we're navigating too as parent? Like there's, it's hard. That's hard for us when we're watching our kids struggle or go through all these things. So like, we've got to learn to figure out how to take care of the swirls internally so that we can get out of the way and then be the sturdy leader. Right.
Right.
So many, that's where this conversation could take many tangents as you've been beside me for many, many, many hockey games and moments. So it's shifting gears into the sport parenting piece. Like, what have you taken from your own journey, your own learning as an athlete and as a professional and kind of pulled into your parenting?
So I feel that getting to like a semi-pro level with soccer, doesn't obviously like happen in with your Olympian status. You have to love the sport. And I feel that there's so much pressure on these kids at such a young age that the love of the sport, I feel, is being lost. And I feel that what I give to my kids, I'm like, did you have fun? Was it fun? Did you have a good time? Like, let's talk about what things you did that you enjoyed during the game, because we're all gonna make mistakes. I mean, they're making mistakes, they're learning. I find that if you don't love the sport, you'll never be successful in it. And that's okay. If there's too much pressure at home, which is, I feel like what I see from the sidelines, just being my, just observational self, is that there's a lot of pressure from parents for these kids to perform. Now, again, in our crazy little hockey world, when we were paying all this money for this game, performance matters, especially with the journey of our girls for next year. But prior to that, I feel that them having to love the sport and then want to take it to that next competitive level is like just such the baseline for growth. And I know when we first met and played together at MassCon, that was just like a dream team of just great culture, positivity, and like just really great teammates. And I feel like that particular year specifically for our girls, like was so crucial for loving the game and wanting to do better and become better players. So
it's so true. And there's so many pieces we can hang there for a little bit, because you think about the coaching was like intense and hard and also caring.
You're right.
There was like your presence in the locker room. I mean, maybe it came off as joking, not joking. I'm serious. Like the sturdy, loving presence of just like mama to all, like I've got you, and that sense of connection. Cause Kylie came in, like we're driving this hour and 40 minutes, which is its own story, and coming into a brand new environment, first time playing with all girls, and a huge leap and to be welcomed in and feel
Mhm.
like she belonged, right, is so incredibly
Sure.
important.
Yep.
Yeah, and that you can have that at a higher level,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
So good. Yes. So, okay, so you pull in when you talk about pressure, say more about how that what does that look like? Where do you think that what's happening there for us as parents collectively?
Well, obviously, the world of social media is now
Mm,
it's now hugely involved, and we grew up. I mean, social media wasn't a factor in our lives, and so um, I think that presence. I mean, that's documented clearly
mhm.
as far as like positive and adversely affecting these young humans. They
Yes.
see, what's latest and greatest, what this person's doing. We know that sometimes things are a little bit fabricated, and I think that these athletes just need to understand that if they don't love the game, then they can't be successful. And I think I'll just
Mhm.
bring it back to the love of the game, because if you love the game, you work hard. You don't necessarily need to like, blast yourself all over the place about looking how awesome, making yourself look so
Yeah.
amazingly awesome when, that might have been like your 50th try off of whatever skill you just were trying to perform. So social media, I
Yeah.
think, adversely is affecting them. But then again, with our girls too, it's like, well, you have to have a video and show them doing these things to
For recruiting.
right,
That's
to
why
get
I
video to,
yeah.
then submit of like, oh, really, look at my athletes. So it's really hard kind of to play in this new realm. And like, me, I love technology so much. So it's even more challenging.
She's kidding. Yeah.
No, don't love technology.
But that is so true. This but the love is first.
The love is first, I feel, and
Yeah.
that's just my perspective. So if you don't love the game, like, you're not going to want to go to the extra practice or do the extra work, or
Yeah.
fight for that position, and then like, just
Mhm.
have to, I guess, challenge yourself to like do all the extras that most kids don't want to do.
Right, no, then it becomes suffering. Okay, so yes, talking about the love and that coming first, what I see when that's not there or we become disconnected, that the young people become disconnected from the why and the love, if it's not there, then there's this intense attachment to I need the outcome, like and then this question that I off like will surface with poor performances or not making a team where it's
Mhm.
like, is it really worth it?
Mhm.
In this like and honestly, if the love isn't there,
Not
it's
worth it.
not worth
Nope,
it.
not worth it.
And that question that I'll kind of pose back to them is saying, the question we want to ask ourselves is what's worth doing even if we fail? Like even if the
Right.
outcome doesn't ever happen,
Right.
what lights you up to the point where it's worth doing?
Exactly.
And that has to be
Yeah.
there first. That's like coming clear,
Mhm.
like very clearly through what you're
Yeah.
saying. Love first and then the details. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
with again, if you love the game, you'll continue playing in whatever fashion that may be, and it still will be fun.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure like you have the hockey or the beer leagues, the guys, they just love playing.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. They love
Mhm.
playing. So that's wonderful that they can still do that within their sport. So I think um it doesn't matter like what fashion you're able to play as long as you can play. That's
Mhm.
amazing. So
It reminds me. It's like we took the what were we in Lake Placid for? Me and Jay. I don't know. It all blurs together. And they had the tournament
yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
And they were like all these like it was adult
Oh,
leagues. And it
fun.
was like everyone had their own homemade
There's
shirts or jerseys
yeah,
that they were wearing.
so
I
fun.
still don't have the lingo down in
I
hockey. Oh my
know.
goodness.
Oh my
Um, but they were just like it was pure like there was so much joy and
yeah.
love. Like they had plowed little
Yeah.
sections of
Yeah.
homemade
Yeah.
rinks. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how do we support that as parents? So we're going to go into kind of bigger
Yep.
picture, taking your background, your perspective, your
Yep.
lens, like all of that is like would love your thoughts collectively on like where are we doing well as parents and where could we maybe shift into alignment. And of course, each individual
Yes.
parent is different.
Right, for sure.
Individuals' journeys are different,
Yeah.
but just kind of like big sweeps of themes and
Um,
it's like yeah,
I feel like
pause
it's the
there.
controllables. Like we have to be able to control what we can control, right?
Mhm.
So, like, if we want to raise kids that love sports and are good performers, well, let's bring it back to nutrition and sleep and hydration, like those simple things
Yeah.
that we can control. Um, you know, you know me, very big into nutrition. So it's like, the home cooked
Mhm.
meals, like how often does that happen? Or is it takeout? So I think that is a huge piece of like the holistic like upbringing for athletes too, because that's a direct
Mhm.
correlation to so many positive life happenings. So I feel like those are things that we can control, right?
I'm going to pause you
Yeah.
there and have you speak to us about, because you are a homemade
Mhm.
meal maker,
Yes, yes.
phenomenal cook, and also,
Thank you.
but like bringing it down to the ground of the busyness of driving,
Yeah.
you're also
Oh,
coaching,
yeah.
you're
It
not
is.
coaching a team that you're coaching a team that your kids aren't on, right? So like an additional team.
Yes.
How are you in running a business? How are you making
It's
time
hard.
to make the
So it's
meals?
hard. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, all right, what am I making this week? Like, can I crock pot? Like, if I'm busy and coaching to whatever, like I'll crock pot. Can I bake something? Okay, I made something for 2 nights. We'll do leftovers. Now, don't get me wrong. I will happily DoorDash something. I can't say that I'm cooking 7 days a week. All right, let me let me just like bring it down to like I'm not that lady. But I just value like the higher level nutrition. So again, like whether I make something and
Mhm.
freeze it just so we can take it out and just like quickly, put it back on the table. And Jason will be around too to help. So I'll say, okay, this is what we're having for dinner. If he's home, he can help cook too. So that
Mhm.
is nice. And obviously, like I'm down to one kid right now because Birdie's over at out at
Mhm.
Boston Hockey Academy. So it's really just Lex. So it's gotten a little bit easier from that front. But when they're both home, it's more of a all right. I just need to prepare. Okay, I have a section at lunch. I'm going to just take this and be able to just organize.
Oh, that's so, you do it at lunch. That's
Yeah.
such a great idea. Because at night I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
early preparation and like so I'll like prep something where I can just like throw it in the oven and then, come on back out. So
that's a
yeah,
great idea.
lunchtime preps, I'll be like eating lunch and like prepping dinner. So
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Note
Yeah,
to
no
self. I'm
self.
picking up tips along the
Yeah.
way as I have
Right. And
conversations with
honestly,
people. I'm
like
like,
throwing crock pots on in the morning, like easy. That's like my first patient at 9. I'm like, dinner's already on. I feel like I win today.
oh,
Right.
seriously. And then it's in the nutrition
Yep.
piece, not just so this conversation came up in a conversation with a coach, also sports dad,
Mhm.
and he was talking about just the family meal.
Oh
So he
yeah.
was, like not even just homemade,
Yep.
but just the time of
Yep.
sitting together. So that idea, but from a physical standpoint, we often will separate like mind and
Yeah.
body. It's that's like such a human
Yeah.
thing. Like the
Yeah.
brain is part of the
Sure. Yep.
body, like it's all one.
Yep.
But that idea of nourishing
Mhm.
and fueling well to feel
Yeah.
well, and then also for the strength of our body and for
Yeah.
recovery, that's a huge, yeah,
Mhm.
huge part of this journey.
Mhm.
And I had on um, Rebecca McConville, who's an RD, and we were talking a little bit about that. We're going to need to bring her back because there's so many pieces to
Mhm.
the conversation around
Oh,
nutrition
yeah.
and making sure that our kids are fueling well,
Mhm.
which is so hard to do during the day. How do you have that conversation? How do you talk about it without making it a big deal, if you will? Like, or do you?
With the
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
so we always do like when we're all home, we always do sit down family meals. That's something I'm like, put
Hmm.
your phones away. I don't want to see it. I have been making their food since they were born, so I feel like I just have been cooking, so they don't know anything different. I feel that my son
Hmm.
appreciates me a little bit more being awake, because now he has to cook on his own. But
Yes.
I think that I've always been educating my kids, like, this is why you eat this particular vegetable. This is what it does. And I just feel
Mm.
like I've given them a lot of education as to what foods are good, what foods are not good. And so they both love their sports, and they now, again, I'm blessed to have these kids that do this. They
Hmm.
choose the healthier version just because they understand what each particular ingredient or food does. So,
The
wait,
why.
they're
Hmm.
still kids. They still have their candy and their junk food and like whatever. But for the most part, they're very nutritional conscious, and that's from me, like just always, harping on it, like this is why you eat this instead of this. And
Hmm.
so I just think that when I grew up, I just kind of figured out like the foods that made me perform better. So, for example, I
Mm.
remember I could never eat cereal before a game or practice with the actual milk, 'cause I just have a lot of phlegm in my throat. I didn't know why, so I
Mm.
just switched to peanut butter and jelly. So, not really knowing, just knowing that it made me feel better. And
Hmm.
so now, obviously, like research with cow's milk and dairy and stuff like that, and trying to perform that, that's not really favored. So, just little trial and errors, and then I'm like, this is, try this instead of this. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So and the why. That's
That's the
also
why.
what I
So
heard you saying.
right, I think that with the kids understanding the why is to this
Yep.
food's better than this food, and this is because like, whatever. And so with
Hmm.
Lex being so tall, like she's protein heavy, she's a carnivore. She's had a couple times when she's been competing where her blood sugars dropped. And so like thankfully I always carry I always carry snacks on the sideline.
You do have a snack bag? I have the gum.
I know, I
You
have
get the
snacks.
snacks.
You have the 8 packets of gum and maybe
I
a
do, I
crystal
do.
to rub or something.
Yes, that's real. That's so real. No, and like crystals in every pocket. That's real. You need it with some of those experiences that we've had. We can talk about that a little
Also,
bit, but
so
holy cow.
but anyway, so Lex realized, I was like, "What did you eat for protein?" And she's like, "I didn't." And then she realized, like, it was such a detrimental
Mm,
effect that, like, she didn't eat enough protein and, like, basically bottomed out and, like, had to pull herself from the
hmm
game and just have, like, granola bars on the sideline. So and
Totally.
I think, again, like, now the kids are a little bit older, they really enjoy competing and wanna compete and look forward to the games. So
hmm
I think from that, it's more internal motivation.
it's amazing. It's the why. It's the thread
Right.
throughout too. All of the things you're like, why do you
Right.
play?
Yep.
And then your patience and healing. Like, why is this important for you to
Right.
do? Not just like here's a list of exercises, go
Exactly.
do it,
Yep.
but that why.
Very
Yeah, being
patient
driven from
piece.
that place.
Yep.
hmm
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know
Mhm.
in this wild, crazy journey, when it comes to like humanizing us as parents, I think that's a really important part because it's easy to say like, oh, parents are crazy and they're the problem, or like coaches are crazy and they're the problem. And while we can find even in my own, as I was preparing for this, even in my own journey, like I've been below the line. One in particular comes to mind at Olympia when we were at that rink and the game was just getting absolutely wildly out of control when I just like stood up and slammed the glass and was using not kind words.
I remember
And
that.
my
I was like,
kids, my twins were behind me, like arms on their hips, like, you just embarrassed us. Like, it was not my finest moment. And if I could rewind, I
"You
would do
had
it
the wrong
differently.
crystal in the pocket. You needed to switch that
No
one out."
crystal, not enough gum.
Something.
But that idea of like, we're gonna get hooked, we're gonna make
Mhm.
mistakes. Like we are literally going through this journey.
Mhm.
Like, first, there's no playbook on parenting,
No.
never mind parenting and
Oh
sports.
gosh.
So yeah, if you would you share like what have you learned, and you can speak to a challenge if you feel like a time that you fell like or not, but that like what have you learned along the way? Yeah, that you didn't know before.
Oh gosh, parenting, I knew nothing.
Mhm.
So
Right.
and I have a Brody, so I always tell parents when you're feeling down about yourself, I was like, "I'll just give you Brody for a day, make you feel so much better about yourself."
Well, watching him with Jason at the rink, like just I have four girls, right?
Yeah,
So just different
boys are
energy, but
bananas. I mean,
yeah.
absolute bananas, and just, I mean, all the things. Um, so I know nothing about parenting. Let's see. What was the question again? Like something.
About just and this journey through sport, like what have you
Oh,
learned
like,
maybe from falling,
yeah.
like
So,
falling in the process
just
or
like
yeah.
observation again. Like I think like because I'm always just kind of watching things. I think
Mhm.
that I feel that like treating people kindly is a big thing.
Mhm.
Talking about people because it usually gets back to
Mhm.
them. I feel like that's like don't burn bridges. That's a solid
Mhm.
like um criteria thing that I feel like that it's really just be nice to people. If you don't agree with them, that's fine. I feel like one of the terms I like to use like with my little girls is like you don't have to be friends with everybody, but you should be friendly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing. As far as referees, I was a referee for soccer
Mm.
way back when. I didn't like getting yelled at, so I try not to yell at them. I mean, obviously have, some bad calls cost us games, yes, but are we
Mhm.
in the Olympics? Are we, competitive? No.
Even if we were
But
though,
yeah, I
right?
mean, what
Like
are you gonna do? They're
yeah.
human. You know what I mean? They're doing the best they can with what
Mhm.
they know. So
It's so how do you remember that in the moment though? Do you ever get hooked
no,
internally by
because
are
I
you
just feel like
yeah.
I don't have control of the game. What can we control?
That's
I'm
it.
not on the
That's
field,
it.
I'm not
Yeah.
on the ice. I can't do anything. All I can say
Mhm.
is, "Yep, they didn't get it right. What are you gonna do? Move on." If you
Mhm.
had put the puck in the net or the ball in the net more times than the other team, then you'd win. So, I don't get
Right.
that fired up because, again, I'm not particularly playing. When I was on the field, I could control those things. I can't control
Yeah.
watching my kids, skate or lose or watching the other parents be crazy. I'll excuse myself, go to the bathroom, and just move
Mhm.
spaces because I'm like, "Well, you're gonna just kinda sit. They're gonna Harvard, stay in their realm, and I don't really want a piece of that.
We
I'll go
sometimes
get
would
what, like a
be
blue
like
tea or
far
something like
away.
that, and yeah, just move.
Yes. Move,
Move,
shift
shift, and
gears.
just remove yourself from like that negative energy.
It's so real at some they're one of the first games actually with mask on, and I was listening. So there's two parts to this. One is like the like being able to just like almost validate not the behavior but the emotional hooking
Mhm.
that we can get caught into when
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like just like in this space
Mhm.
of dysregulation ourselves.
Yep.
And but we were at our first one of the first away games. I think Rob had taken Kai to most, so it was my like literal first foray into travel
Yeah.
hockey girls
Yeah.
program. And I was listening to some parents, like the group of parents use like the, you know, they were saying the B word about our girls
Mhm.
and like take them down. She was talking to her daughter. And I was just like, I remember starting to shake and calling Rob and being like, what's happening here? Like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Like these at the time were, they were 12, right?
Yeah.
11 and
Oh, yeah.
12.
Well, that's
Yeah.
when they're a little
And
spicy.
yeah. And so, and I can now, like, after my moment that I described with like banging glass and others, recognizing in my own self, like the ability to slip into that space of just getting super hooked.
Mhm.
So it can have understanding and also this like holy cow, so we've got to right, so change
Mhm.
environments, who you're around. We're joking but not really about crystals in the pocket. Gum for me is like
Gum.
it's my space of like regulating my
Can I
body,
just have a half a piece?
making
No,
sure
like,
we're
more
hydrated.
pieces? No, I just want a half a piece, Samantha, thanks.
And I'm like, do you exactly that? No, you can't have less than one. I mean less than like five. One just feels weird. Oh my gosh. So yeah, what are some other strategies? Like what's your car ride home like
Car
when it
rides
comes
home,
to
again, with both
yeah.
kids are always positive. I'm like, "Would you have fun? What did you like about that game?
Mhm.
That was really fun. I liked when you did this. I thought so and so did a great job doing this, and, so and so, was she feeling okay today? Like, I don't like to talk about other players, but, like, did you if
Mhm.
so and so wasn't feeling good, did you say anything? Like, good job, try and pick her up in those types of, situations."
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
think I spend more time with Lexi just based on like our, schedules and whatnot.
Mhm.
So for I'll use Lexi specifically. I feel like girls are a little bit later to develop compared to boys. Boys are always wild and crazy as far as that competitive. Not
Mhm.
I mean always, but like I'll use my son as an example. Like he was always like wild and crazy and always wanting to. And I think he was talking smack. I have him on video. I think at like 3 or 4 years old, talking smack about how he could swing higher than Lexi. So that will resurface at some point. Um, whereas like girls, and I've seen it like with my coaching of my eighth grade girls right now. It's like some girls that were really developed at an earlier age, slow down, and the other girls that were a little bit slower to develop, kind of blossom a little bit later. And I feel like my daughter's a late bloomer on that, on the competitive side. So for
Mhm.
me, in the car rides, she would acknowledge, earlier on that she wasn't the best player, wasn't the fastest, and I just said, okay, but what did you do to have fun? So I think the biggest thing is
Mm.
like, did you have fun? What things did you love? And sometimes there'd be tears. And I was like, well, there's no need to cry, but let's talk about it. And so, like, what are your
Yeah.
frustrations? Okay, what's your frustration? Well, why don't we work on that tomorrow? And so then we have a plan formulated to address whatever she was upset about. And so I think once you address
Mhm.
that, and then the next game and said, hey, you did so much better. Do you remember when you were frustrated about this, whatever technique? And then you just killed it in the game. That was amazing. So
Mhm.
I think, again, like, just from who I am personally, I do a lot of education and then implementation. Like, okay,
Mhm.
so you didn't like that. Let's change it. Let's work on it at home. And I have the ability to do that. I choose to do that. So I think that's like on my other like thing.
Well,
I have
you're
energy for days.
empowering.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go try and do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but like I'll work with you. So
Yeah. And it's like permission that it's okay.
yeah.
I think that that's like there's such like a level of compassion and like there's an acceptance.
Mhm.
Like this is where we're at. Like we're not going to fight this. Let's okay, let's mine it for what we can control
Right.
here. And the other you started to speak into this place that I see in a lot of areas of my work around early success and then the things, puberty hits
Yeah.
and things start to
Oh
move
yeah.
and shake a bit and development happens at different time on different timelines. And so when it comes to, a lot of parents will say, like, my daughter like has lost her confidence. Like
Mhm.
she's not as confident. So yeah, I'll just let you take that, like developing confidence or reconnecting to that.
Uh,
What are your thoughts there? Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of like sports specific too. So
Mm,
obviously, again, like you have the puberty, the growing, the aches and pains of that. There is the component of if you want to compete at the next level, you have to start doing a lot more work at home. You have to have
mhm,
like the mental coaches. You have to have the
mhm,
additional like skills coaches. And so, if we're speaking of hockey specifically, having so on top of your regular practices, like having another coach that is just working for skills or maybe like the game or the
mhm,
hockey IQ. You have to start doing those things in order to, I feel like, become a better player, which would give you more confidence. That's
mhm,
like Like,
Well, that's
yeah,
confidence.
so
Yeah.
going, like,
Yeah.
having training, like, with somebody who, like, that's their wheelhouse,
Mhm.
because, like, again, you and I didn't play hockey, so if we're gonna
Mm-mm.
use hockey as the example, like, I don't know what I'm
Mhm.
doing.
Still call it dribbling. Like, but there was an
The net.
announcer there was an announcer who said dribbling, and I was like, "Look, like, listen, they just said
Yeah.
dribbling. Like, why wouldn't it be called that?"
Yeah.
Anyways, I
So the
digress.
confidence
Yeah.
thing again, I'm not sure like what, athletes you're working with or whatnot, but I feel like you have to start if you want to go to the next level and these athletes want to go to the next level, then they have to start reaching out to other humans that, specialize in that particular field and just
Mhm.
asking for help and being okay to ask for help.
That's
And I
it.
think that
That's it. Yep.
and it's, if the athlete wants to go, again, are there other pressures? Are there things where they're losing confidence because maybe they're losing love for the sport? There's a lot of like
Mhm.
components that happen. And going to higher levels, it is one big mental train. And
Yes.
that's it. I mean, it's like what, 80% mental. I'm sure you have those stats somewhere, but uh
I don't even know if we can quantify it, honestly, but I
but
just know that the technical component, so you have technical, tactical, right? Then you have the physical body, which encompasses an enormous
right.
amount from food, sleep, all
All
that to
yeah.
training. And then you have the
Mhm.
mental. And if one of them is
Yeah.
off, like particularly the mental
Mental
is
piece.
not
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
you can't even access all the work you've done,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When I hear the confidence piece, what I pick up is, and often is the case when I'm working one on one, is that it's this fear. It's this like age appropriate, right?
Mhm.
Of like moving into those middle school years
Mhm.
and going through puberty where we start to kind of like attune outward and we're trying to figure out how do we fit in. And so we start to notice differences and get caught in that space. And so it's learning how to navigate that and come back to
Right.
self and what you talk about, like, what can I
Yep.
control? What am I doing? And kind of returning to that place where we understand that actually when you feel nervous, it's not a sign you're not
Right.
capable. It's just a sign you're
Right.
human, right?
The other thing I think with
Um,
confidence too, and I don't wanna just jump in, but the
yeah.
sport has to be fun, right? So, like, if you
Mhm,
lose the fun, then it's not
mhm,
then again, you're gonna lose the confidence, but I feel that, like, when you're confident, when the sport's still fun for you, you're gonna have that confidence,
mhm,
you're gonna wanna compete just because it's fun. So, with soccer, because it's a team sport, um,
mhm.
I just remember, like, even if we were losing, like, just having, like, one of my teammates do something great, I'd be like, "Oh, that's so great," and it would still be fun. And so I feel like,
Yeah.
bringing that piece back to the athlete is so important as well because, like,
Mhm.
confidence will shift if they're enjoying what they're doing.
Totally. And you like your own lived experience is an example of something that's still really pervasive, like that counters something still really pervasive, which is if you want to get to that higher level,
Mhm.
like you have to be so locked in and you have
Mhm.
like you almost need to suffer. And it's like you're saying, no, actually the joy will lead you there.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
So when like if a parent is noticing that maybe that sparkle or the joy isn't there or they're not wanting to, or even with Brody and
Mhm.
Lex, like if they don't want to go to practice, like how do you approach that conversation?
I have to be honest, neither one of my kids have never wanted to go to practice, which has been
Yeah. Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's more of the like, "Oh, well, you'll see." I bring it to the social piece because again, as a team thing, I'm like, "Oh, you'll go see,
Hmm.
so and so. This'll be, um, it'll be nice to see them." Like, do you want to bring bracelets? I remember, I don't know, like
Hmm.
your KJ, like gave Lex some bracelet. I was like, oh, you should wear that to practice today. That'd be so fun that you could show KJ that you're
Hmm.
wearing her bracelet to practice. So I feel like doing those like
Hmm.
little things and just being like, oh, go look at this. That's going to be so fun at practice, And so just having the kids, their perspective change on like, um, just not wanting to go. I'll use myself
Follow the joy.
this
Yeah.
past Monday, it was pouring rain. It was freezing here in Western Mass, and I'm coaching the U9 Boston Bolts teams out of the West region, and I'm going. Okay, I have 7 and 8 year olds. It's pouring rain. It's freezing. I have a huge roster that's coming in attendance today, and I'm like, "What is he? Are these parents like?" I was like, "It's raining out." So I was like, all right, I literally, I think I went in my ski gear, like all outfitted. And I was like, all right, guys. And again, it's pouring rain. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these 7 and 8 year olds? And I was like, we're going to have a really fun practice. So we did all these super fun games, World Cup, knockout, like,
So
like
fun.
one-on-ones, like with like just silly, like number calling. And what I took from a miserable, like freezing cold rain experience and just created just fun. The kids, the moms are like, okay, we're only going to stay for half an hour and then we're going to go. I was like, that, you do what you want. You're the parents. the kids didn't want to leave because I made it fun. And I feel like they were like,
Yeah.
that was they're like, coach, that was the best practice ever. And I was like, I am freezing, but I'm glad you guys had a great time. My fingers are white.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, all right, I gotta get in my car and just, I'm so cold. But so I think again, like as a coach, like looking at the perspective and giving back,
The
it's
experience
just
that you
it's
create.
just creating that
Hmm.
fun, like positive
Hmm.
environment where they love the sport and they just can't wait to like keep coming back. So
And you see that like clearly, I'm putting words in your mouth, but you can correct me, like as a performance
oh yeah, for
enhancer.
sure, for sure. The second it's
Hmm.
fun, the better they do. And
So,
again, in the like the club levels, I feel like you can have a hard coach, but as long as it's still fun, like you're gonna shine.
mhm. It's reminding me of a client, and won't disclose too many details other than she's doing two
Mhm,
sports, and in one she approaches it with this intense playfulness,
mhm,
like it's just simply fun for
mhm,
her, and the other she's seen herself in that sport, she's done it longer,
mhm,
and it's more intense and
mhm.
serious. And the performance on the side of playfulness is literally like this upward exponential curve.
Yeah,
It's so cool. It's just it's
yeah.
play. And that actually, when we get into the performance states and flow state in particular, like that's how you
Mhm,
access it. You're literally immersed in the present moment.
mhm,
You're connected to joy.
mhm.
I got the scale behind me, like
Yeah.
nervous
Oh,
system's
yeah.
regulated,
Mhm.
right? You're like,
Yep.
yeah, it's so beautiful. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
that's like that is so fun. And that's so in all the arenas that we've walked
Mhm,
together, that in like in your the role that you play in that and how you engage with even Lex, like as a mom of a teammate,
mhm,
right, is like you bring that,
mhm,
you create that. And like holiday times and things, like bringing your treat bag and just infusing joy in these moments,
mhm,
which feels like a breath of fresh air in an arena where we've become so like
mhm.
serious
Right.
and uptight and like we got to get on this treadmill.
Mhm.
And do you ever feel those pressures to hop into that space and like what's next? And
For the
yeah,
kids?
yeah.
You mean after going through the whole prep school thing?
We didn't talk about
Yeah.
that and we're almost out of
And
time.
2 things, since I don't know where the
Yeah.
charges are, I'm just reading the little thing that popped up. It says the Mac will soon, it will go to sleep unless plugged into a power outlet. Now, I don't really know where the cord is, so
Where the cord is.
so
Well, we can wrap up soon.
so if
So
I, like,
we'll
go down, it's not
go.
because I don't like
It's
you.
all okay.
So,
Yeah.
we can keep
But yeah,
yapping
but
until
you
then,
said
but I don't know what I'm doing.
I love it. This is so fun.
So
So yeah, so we why don't we just say to be
yeah,
continued then? And then we're actually gonna go in real
in real
life play
life. I
together.
know. It's so fun.
So no, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Like you're such a light and a gift.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I feel blessed because my girls have had you as a role model,
Aw,
right? As
thank you.
like someone walking alongside
Yeah.
of us
Mhm,
through really important years of their
mhm.
lives. So thank you for
Thank
that
you.
personally.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on to
Thank
this
you
and
so
stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone
much.
to share you and the gift that you are to the world. I think, yeah. So people, I will share your website,
Mhm,
but if people wanted to reach out to
mhm.
you, like what would be the best way? Through your
Through my
website or
website,
through,
yeah.
yeah, through your
Yeah,
website.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, and hopefully just go
Ask you
to
questions or ping.
spam, yeah, all those
Yeah.
things, yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
thank you,
Okay.
Samantha.
We'll close it down before your
All
computer
right.
shuts off. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. See
Okay,
you.
bye.